whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them, for this is the law and the prophets. Therefore, because of everything that's been said before this, I want you to act this way. Here are the consequences. Here are the things that I want you to do now based on everything that you have heard before. Paul uses this word all the time, and he'll teach and teach and teach and teach, and then he'll say, now therefore, and then he'll apply it. What is interesting about this passage is what Jesus chooses to apply. Okay, we've gone through this thing about asking, seeking, and knocking. We've gone through this thing about God being a good father. And then he says, therefore. Okay, therefore, we're about to have a moment of application here. I want you to act toward the other person the same way that you would want them to act to you. What? What did that have to do with anything? Sibling rivalry. That's what it has to do with. The teaching about God the Father, and because God the Father is good, and because he loves you individually and uniquely, then you are free to go and love someone the way that they need to be loved. You don't need anything from the other person. You know, I tell you this all the time. Most of us want a contract with God. We want God to be the first party, we'll be the second party, and the first party agrees to do this for the second party, and in return the second party agrees to do this for the first party. We want a contract, one, so that we have a way to impose on God. We can go to God and say, see, here's what the contract says you have to do. Secondly, we want a way to limit what God can say to us and what God can ask of us. We want to be able to say to God, well, you know, God, I understand what you're asking me, but that's not in the contract. But what God offers us is a covenant. Because I am God, I will love you as my child. Not because we deserve it or have earned it, but because of who God is. Now, because God loves us, that gives you your identity. And that gives you your worth, because you are a bearer of the Imago Dei. Because those basic, fundamental, existential needs are satisfied in the core relationship with Jesus Christ, then I don't have to look for my identity from someone else. I don't have to go manipulate a friendship so that they will prove that I am valuable. I don't have to put somebody else down so I can say I am a person of worth because I am, quote, better than that guy. Jesus doesn't say, therefore, don't do what you don't want done to you. This is not a negative. It is a positive. Jesus expects you and me as his children to take the first step. Because I love you like this, then you act toward others, toward your neighbor, in the love and confidence of knowing you are loved by me. I'm free to love the neighbor and let the neighbor be who they are. I'm free to love the neighbor and not expect anything in return, because all of that is settled in my relationship with Jesus Christ. Therefore, how I want people to treat me, that's how I'm going to treat them. And Jesus says when you do that, you keep all of those requirements you worried about. In an earlier conversation, Jesus is talking to a lawyer who wants to know the greatest commandment. And Jesus says there are two. Love God with everything you have. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. This is everything in the law and the prophets. That's what he says here. Loving your neighbor, being proactive in that love, sums up everything that he wanted to tell you in the Bible. Because you are loved by him, because of who Christ has made you, because you bear his image, because you are redeemed by his death on the cross, then you can love your neighbor freely, without hesitation, the same way he loves you. This is what Jesus is teaching us behind the therefore. Because God is a good father, you can be a good neighbor, a good friend. And in doing so, sum up everything that's in the Bible. Now, that's a pretty interesting teaching. I'll give you about 60 seconds to think about it, and I'll see you tomorrow.